Natureland in Skegness is well known for rescuing and rehabilitating orphaned and injured seal pups stranded on the North Sea coast. Visitors can see the seals at various stages of their recovery. The staff are used to rescuing seals on a regular basis.
So we get a call, the guys go out to find the seal, and they'll box it up on the beach, bring it back to the hospital, and then start the process of checking it out, seeing what's the matter with it and giving it the appropriate care that it needs. Sometimes they just need rest and a bit of warmth. Other times they need medical treatment, whether from either a physical injury or if it's an illness. So the guys are very experienced, and they'll diagnose what the seal requires and start the treatment process, and also, of course, feeding them, bathing them, all those kinds of things. And the seals will stay over there for a number of weeks until they're fit and strong enough to come out to the outside pool, and then rehabilitation in here. I think at the most I've had in is about 14. That was quite busy. That year a lot of them were hand feeding at the time as well. We've now started a process where we tend to get them feeding in the water before we bring them over. That year we weren't doing that, and we had sort of pretty much 14 seals that all needed hand feeding. So that means you get seals clambering around your legs, begging for food. So it was quite fun. We were very busy. It took a while to get them moving. But yeah, it was very full. We don't really want 14 seals at a time.
So we've got a nice big grey seal here that we've got that's too big to be inside, keeps trying to escape. So we want to make sure it's outside as soon as possible. That's generally how we do it. Put the tub on the side, put the board the other side and flip them in. And then the bar goes in just to make sure that we don't have any pleasant surprises of them jumping out as we're going across. It's quite daunting for them really, when they've been in such a small pen, to then come back outside again. And obviously now they're meeting another seal, which they're not used to in such close proximity. Approximately we get about 30 to 40 come in here. It all depends on weather, how many's been born, if there's been viruses. We've had a virus in previous years that has wiped out about 50% of the common population. So the next few years after that are going to take a big hit. The main thing that we normally get is orphans. Unfortunately they've lost their mums far too early. The common season, normally the pups take about 3 to 4 weeks with the mums swimming around, suckling off the milk, and actually interacting with them and getting all the food and necessaries to hunt from them. The tides can break that up, the weather can break it up, or the mum dies from birth, or they do just become separated for whatever reason. And unfortunately the pups then, they come on the beach, they are very skinny, very small, and you can see the ones that need helping straight away from the weight wise. We generally don't take anything in that we don't have to, but a lot of seals you can just look at and you can tell it's very underweight and they can't cope with the weather. Adult seals, luckily since I've been here in the 5 years, we've only had 2 adults pop up. We're not generally geared too much for adults, so we do work closely with the ASHBURN. They help us out a lot and we help them out a lot with seals. And we generally do well between each other. We just had an adult grey come in about 2 weeks ago, but luckily Mablethorpe, they helped us out with that one, and we're trying to help each other out as much as possible. The communication that we've got between the 2 seal sanctuaries, if it can improve much better, is obviously better for us and it's much better for the seals.
Certainly in the rearing pool here, really what I'm focusing on is getting these seals fit and healthy, which means getting them fat, which is good for a seal, as quickly as possible so they can be back in the wild and spend as little time as possible in captivity. So they're, at the moment they're eating around 6 or 7 pounds a day. If they get hungrier, you can feed them a little more. Each seal will get a vitamin tablet in its fish as well, just as a little booster for itself. And then after that it's kind of down to the seal feeds for the public. So we use the seal feeding for the public as the opportunity to feed the seals. Franny's the oldest seal here. She's 34 years old and she's very special to us because she was the first seal which was born here at Natureland. Good girl. There we go. Thank you. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about the work we do here rescuing baby seals. Now, between here and the coast of Norfolk, we have an area of sea known as the Wash, and the Wash is home to England's largest colony of harbour seals. There's around 2,000 to 3,000 harbour seals living in the Wash, and every summer they will have pups, and the mums will feed their pups for around 3 to 4 weeks, only a short time, but in that time they'll go from their birth weight of around 25 pounds up to about 60 pounds as the mothers feed them on a very rich milk. At the end of that 3 to 4 weeks, the mother's milk will dry up and the pups will be left to become independent and learn to feed themselves, and that's the way things will go for baby seals most of the time, and it usually works out fine, but just occasionally they get into difficulties. They can be orphaned because their mums have died or they've got separated from them. They can be bitten by other seals, they can get bitten by dogs, they can get themselves tangled up in bits of plastic or fishing nets and catch things like seal pox, lungworm or pneumonia. Now, for those baby seals, it's a very different story, because without their mums to feed them, they will get weaker and weaker, eventually getting washed up onto a beach where, unless they're rescued, they will die of starvation or dehydration. Sometimes they're found by the Coast Guard or the police, who report the seals to us, and we go out and find them, we bring them back here and take them to the seal hospital where they get intensive care.
We'll get this one down here, number 7, bathed, because then we'll move that one into the nice big pen. So as we're bathing that one, I'll clean that pen out and we'll get it done that way. I mean, support the rib cage, support the hips, so we don't do any damage to them. Sacks there just to make sure no one else gets damaged. He's used to that sort of routine now, you see, because normally you release the gate sort of thing and they just stay there back into a corner, but when that one does that, it's just easy enough just to go behind it, chuck the sack on top of it and sorted. Get used to it, and he knows that when he's in the bath he'll get a fish. Obviously some seals that we do having, you've just got to keep a good eye on in the bath, make sure that they're not struggling in any way. Always keep checking, make sure they're doing well. And then we've got the other end of the scale where they're so active that they're trying to get out of the bath, so you've got to make definitely sure they're not trying to jump over the side, which so far since I've been here we've had none do that, which is what we want, and hopefully never will. So it's just got a bit of Trigene in it, well, Anagene as it's now called. That's disinfectant that we use in the hospital, mix it with warm water, and we do all the pens this way every morning. Make sure they're nice and clean for them. We do have some that come in with cuts, dog bites, stuff like that. So we want to make absolute sure that the dog bites and everything else don't get infected just from bad cleaning, basically. Want to make sure everything's nice and clean. That's why basically everything in is white. So any dirt and that lot comes straight up and we clean it out straight away. Yeah, it's the best form. If we can release them ourselves from the hospital, then we know that we've got them from the first stages, from getting them in to when they really do look ill. We have them on death's door when you basically look at them and you think they're not going to survive, and day by day they get better and better. And they're the ones that you really are proud of. They're the ones that you're glad that you do the job and you're here to do. And when they do release them out that way, that's the best form that you can see, because you know without us, those seals themselves would have died. There's no question about that. I've generally been really into animals for a lot of my life. Then basically went to college for 3 years, see how I liked it, if I wanted to carry it on as a career. And I did. I wanted to become zookeepers, that sort of industry. Then when I finished college, it was sort of, what do I do now? What do I actually go into? So I applied for a lot of different jobs and tried different things like that, went to various interviews and then got a call back from here. So I decided I'd nip down, see how it all was and see how I got on with it. And not looked back since. Absolutely love it. Couldn't get much more of a better job. With being the rescue side, you don't know what's going to pop up next. We've had hooded seals pop up, which are from Greenland, which are very rare to see in British waters. We have porpoises, which are actually family from the dolphins, they are. We've helped to rear them. I've gone off with the Coast Guard. We've actually gone out and released that, and they're the success stories that you don't get hardly anywhere else, so it's absolutely fantastic.
I came in looking for voluntary work with sort of no previous experience working with animals, apart from owning pets. So I came in with no expectations about a job, but asking for voluntary work, which wasn't available. But they did take my details, and a couple of weeks later, a staff member was leaving, and they brought me in for an interview and decided to give me a chance. So trained me up and took me on, and then sort of learned the job on site, and gone from there really. It's a very rewarding job. Certainly, you know, when we get to release the seals, it's my favourite part of the job, and I would like to be able to do that every day. Letting them go, it's great. It's a fantastic feeling to see them getting off back into the sea and onto the beach where they belong. So when we release them, the water will be taken out of the seal pool here in order to allow us access to the seal. The seal will then be crated. We'll weigh it one final time before we release it, and simply take it to the beach on a trolley, drag it across the sand, up to the edge of the water, and open the crate up and let the seal go on and do its thing and get into the water, and off it goes. Well, this afternoon we'll be releasing some seals onto the beach. We've got 2 grey seals, Agnes and Ailsa, to release, so they'll be crated up, as I was just explaining, weighed and taken to the beach and released.
The main seal side of things, the seal rescue and the rehab, is my main job. It's what I love to do the most, and it's what we do the best. The other jobs and my other roles are the aquarium. I do that full time. I also look after the African grey parrots that we have here. The Floral Palace I help out on as well. Stuart, who works here when he's got his days off and stuff like that, I help and pitch in just to look after that for why he's not here. We have other jobs like the reptile house, Pets Corner and the birds. When other keepers are away, we'll help and pitch in, because it's all about the animals at the end of the day. We want to make sure they get fed, watered and cleaned for the best we can. And then my favourite ones, apart from the seals of course, and that is the meerkats that we have. Make sure they get cleaned out, get fed, which is their favourite part. We make sure we give them all bugs, make them all run around, and they're just absolutely enjoyable to watch, and they're absolutely incredible. I think they're always active. They're not one of these that you'll see sleeping in a corner. They're always up, as you can see, they're always on the back legs looking around. Everyone seems to find that quite amazing. They do just keep moving. Whenever we give feeding time as well, they're running about. I always have a walk up and down probably about 2-3 times a day. They relate me as food, so whenever the public's about as well, they see them darting up and down. They just love when we get a bit of sun out as well. You'll see them sunbathing, which a lot of people don't actually realise they do, but that's a really nice thing to watch.
Right, now first stage of seal release would be to drain the pool to allow us to get the seals out of the pool. Getting the seal out of the water is impossible, so this is the easiest way to do it. Also gives us the opportunity to weigh the seals when we've got them and to clean the pool at the same time. These are wild rescued seals that would have been born up at Donanook, just up the coast a little way. There's a large grey seal colony there that's very healthy, and they would have been born around November and December time. 2 kinds of seals, both local, the grey seals, as I said, from Donanook, the harbour seals, or common seals as they're called, from the colony on the other side of the Wash. We have, 2 different kinds of seals. They are similar, but at the same time very different. Harbour seals are very calm and very quiet, not usually too much trouble. Grey seals are the polar opposite, a bit feisty, a little bit naughty, make a lot of noise and do like to bite. We're going to weigh the seals before release to keep our records up to date, so we know what weight the seals are. Well, we're hoping for around about 70 pounds for the seals to be released at this time of year. It's a little colder, so we let them get a little bit extra weight on them this time. I'm just going to double check with the tags. Yeah, it's 20 and 30.
Those 2 up there?
Yeah, just double check them for you to make sure. Yeah, 20 and 30. We'll see if you can get one round. You're going to move.
better into the bottom of the
If you want to do it in the bottom, that's right. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can do it like that. It works. That's it. All right, you ready? Yep. Ready? That was fine. Yep, easy. Can be a little bit more difficult, but that one's going. This one's going nicely so far. There we go. Come on then. Yep. Let's just make sure. It's up to you. I just want to make sure I've got the right ones. Just stay there a second. I think it is. I just want to make sure. Yeah, we've got that. Yeah, that's the one. If you're going to back up, go on. If you go that way, that's it. Go up. Sit. Go on.
I've got the side.
Yeah, great. She was a little bit more grumpy, but again, not too bad, that one. So yeah, we're just sort of showing them where to go, because they're just trying to get away from us, you know. So as long as we can steer them in the direction we want them, it works. So there we go. Okay, good. Let's get some sort of flat ground. There we go. Yeah, it's a bit uneven now, isn't it? I'm just going to double check it, to make sure I've got the right crate weight. There we go. That puts her on £76, which is excellent, really. Yeah, you do have a personal relationship with them, and you do, you know, some of them can be tricky because some of them do look very similar to each other, but they've all got individual little personalities, and certain ones will stand out as strong characters. And you do have a relationship with them, and in whatever way that is, you know, sometimes they're not particularly pleasant animals, and sometimes they're really adorable. They're all a little different. So you miss them, and you remember certain characters, you know, from the past. And but there's always a new one coming along, to take its place, and to, you know, have another in a new relationship.
Straight on the crate?
Yeah, I think.
Do you want to do it
do you want to do it sideways? Yeah, can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roughly the same there. And oh yeah, brought them with you. There we go. Right. Okay, so they can sit quietly now for a couple of minutes while they tidy away. Keys in the door, actually, Duncan. Yeah, just don't go straight away. So they're okay. They're not super keen on being in there, and you'll see when we get to the beach they like to get out, but they're okay. It's nice to have these open cages rather than an enclosed box as well. I think that relaxes them a little bit more. So I imagine it's quite traumatic being jammed into a box. So now we're just got to put the plug back in. It's a very simple device. It's just like a giant bathtub, so that keeps the water at the right level. Nothing particularly high tech there. And so now the water should be filling up. Lovely, there we go. We'll average out 30 to 40 seals throughout the year. You know, that's split between the greys and the harbours, and different years vary. Sometimes we get more harbour seals than greys and vice versa. Quite a few greys this year though. Recently had a report of a seal we let go a few months ago being found up near St Andrews. So they don't often, it was I believe a common seal, but don't often go that far, but they can go where they like. Two things for those, obviously our records, national database of seals as well that get released, get correlated up at St Andrews, I believe. So there are groups out there that do monitor the wild population, so they're useful for them. Also, if they get ill somewhere else, somebody they wash up someplace else, another seal sanctuary rescues them, then the tags can be directly traced to us, they can contact us, and we can tell them, you know, previous medical history and treatments and things like that, and it can help with the recovery of the seal the second time round. You know, usually they're underweight. They can have lungworms, quite a common complaint that they get. So they're often, for the greys, at the time of year that we'll have got these, they're probably sometimes they've left their mum too early, usually down to the weather. You know, mum's getting them separated from the mothers, and so they can't feed themselves. They're not ready. They're still supposed to be feeding on milk, so that causes them to drop weight and get ill. So they'll eat a lot of herrings. There's a lot of herrings out there. Now there's mackerel out there, a lot of whiting, things like that. But they'll eat squid, sand eels. Quite a lot of sand eels are heavy part of their diet as well. So all kinds of things really. And of course there's plenty of shellfish out there as well for them to crunch on. I mean, they do tend to colonise certain parts of the coastline. I think they're just geographically sensible places for them to sleep. Probably shelter from the weather. And what brings seals to do that, it's hard to say. But yes, they'll spend a lot of time on their own out in the sea. Fishing, obviously, I think really these particular types of seals tend to hunt on their own. There will be a few other seals, but every other seal that's around there is just competition for food. So I think they do tend to split up. If we let them go in pairs, they'll often one will go one way and one will go the other. So this best bit of the job. Yeah, absolutely. Letting the seals go back home again. Yeah. Okay. Go on then, up we go. There we go. It's your seal's facing the right direction. That helps. You're going to turn around. There we go. That's the wrong way. Come on.